Today we gonna dive into magnificent movie called The Lone Ranger. The story begins with a young boy whispering, "What is it? What is it?" He holds a small rat in his hands, and even talks to his dead crow as if it can still hear him. Suddenly, the scene shifts. A dangerous criminal appears. Then we meet Latham, a respected man connected to John and his brother Dan. Dan is a Texas Ranger, and this connection soon becomes very important. The criminal, Cavendish, pulls out a gun. He moves toward Tonto, while his men spread out. One of the men enters a train car to investigate, and freezes when he sees it filled with dead bodies. Moments later, Cavendish's gang murders the train's driver. Then Cavendish puts a gun on him, but at the same moment, Tonto also pulls out his gun and points it at Cavendish. John grabs both guns and ties the two of them up. But Cavendish's men come from behind and reverse everything again. We see the train speeding forward. Tonto frees himself from the chains and then frees John too. John says something, then suddenly throws Cavendish down. The three of them try to stop the train. When the engine finally slows, John takes Cavendish into custody because he was a prisoner on that train. Tonto gets locked up in jail again. At this point, Dan's wife arrives. We learn that Rebecca and John liked each other since the beginning. Collins knows Cavendish's hideout, so Dan and John go with him. The railway company has announced that Cavendish will be hanged. Before leaving, Dan says goodbye to his wife and son. John sees a white horse. Tonto calls it a spirit horse that guides souls to the afterlife. He says John has changed ever since he became a lawyer. When Dan's team passes through the canyon, gunfire suddenly erupts. Collins has betrayed them. Dan shouts that Rebecca has always loved John. He tries to stand up and walk back, but he is shot and falls dead. Cavendish kills Dan and takes his locket. He says to John, "You're next." Later, Tonto digs up the graves of the Rangers and takes the tools he needs. When he reaches John, he puts a mask on him. Then the white horse appears and drops John's hat. Tonto tells him, "You are the real hero." John wakes up thirsty and drinks water first. He says, "I'm still alive." Tonto replies, "Because that horse is a spirit." At night, Tonto gives John a silver bullet and says, "We will use this to kill that criminal." Cavendish tells John, "Because of you, that criminal escaped." He also says the train had a gun placed for Cavendish, and that 8 men went there, but Tonto dug only 7 graves. John realizes that Collins has betrayed them, and now it's time to take revenge. John agrees, saying he also wants justice. The two of them head to a woman named Reid. She refuses to tell them anything, so John says her club is breaking many laws and he will be forced to shut it down. Reid panics and says, "You're looking for Cavendish, aren't you?" She tells them Collins gave Cavendish information in exchange for money. She also shows them a precious stone, real silver. Just then, chaos breaks out as some men attack. Reid says the peace with the Comanche tribe has been broken. John asks how he can repay her. Reid replies, "Take revenge for what he stole from me." John and Tonto try to leave, but the attackers chase them. They manage to escape. Meanwhile, Rebecca sees a red Indian man and becomes worried. Cavendish's men arrive and kill him. John returns and finds his servant dead. Tonto tells him that man was assaulting a woman. John and Tonto hide as Cavendish's men burn the house. They climb to the roof through the chimney, where the white horse appears again. John and Tonto capture some of Cavendish's men. One of them tries to be clever, and they attack him. A bullet bounces off a big log and knocks the criminals down. John finds a Comanche tribal locket on one of the bodies. It belonged to Dan. The man says a ranger killed their people, and now John won't survive. Collins is ordered to kill John and Tonto, but he lets them go instead and tells them to run. They escape and follow the white horse. John worries about Rebecca. Tonto says, "When you were unconscious, you kept calling her name." John denies it. Tonto laughs, "Yes, of course, totally unconscious." They then see a massive bridge being built on Comanche land. The tribe is preparing for war. John is taken to the chief. He tries to warn him that a war will only bring destruction. The chief asks why John is wearing a mask. John says it's because of Tonto. The tribe laughs. The chief says Tonto is not part of their tribe anymore. As a boy, Tonto once met 2 dying Englishmen. He brought them to the tribe. Those Englishmen discovered silver in the river. In exchange for directions, they gave Tonto a cheap watch. After finding endless silver, they killed the entire tribe to keep it secret. The chief asks John if he is Dan's brother. John says yes. The chief says Dan promised to protect their land if they maintained peace. But now everything is ruined. The white horse returns and tries to show John where the river begins. John wakes Tonto and frees him. They locate the source of the silver. Cavendish shoots a Chinese worker, thinking ghosts protect the silver mine. A huge explosion happens inside the mine. John beats Cavendish but refuses to kill him. Tonto says there is no curse, only greed. But the 2 Englishmen killed Tonto's entire tribe for silver. Later, Rebecca is captured by Latham's men. Latham does not want her near John. The train suddenly starts moving and ends up in Danny's hands. Rebecca tells Danny to hold tight. Tonto regains consciousness. John confronts Latham, realizing Cavendish and Latham are brothers. Cavendish puts a gun on John. John says, "You killed my brother and my father." Rebecca stops him from shooting. Latham turns against John. The army prepares to kill him. Rebecca begs Latham to stop this. John shows Cavendish his dead crow. The army panics and reverses the train. John realizes Tonto must be nearby. Arrows rain from the sky. Tonto rescues John. They escape while the army slaughters the Comanche. Tonto says, "You were right. There is no justice here. So be an outlaw." The next day, the ceremony for the train bridge begins. Latham orders millions worth of silver to be transported. A man opposes him, and the whole meeting turns chaotic. Red exposes the captain as a traitor, and fighting breaks out. John reverses their machine gun. Latham chases Tonto. Cavendish brings Rebecca and threatens John. The trains collide. Rebecca almost falls, but John saves her. The fight continues on top of the train. John hits Cavendish hard. John tells Tonto to go for the silver carts. Cavendish corners John at gunpoint. Latham connects the rest of the silver carts to the engine, but the bridge collapses. He falls into the river with all the silver. John tells Rebecca he can't stay. Rebecca says, "If this badge becomes too heavy, come back home." John rides off with Tonto. Tonto drops the silver bullet and disappears into the desert. If you like this recap, please subscribe.